How about lifestyle? They actually have exercise research. Your microbiome, it is adaptable. And it's not just adapting to your food choices. It's adapting to your lifestyle. So if you become a runner, that's a different type of exercise than becoming a power lifter. And they actually have studied the runner microbiome and discovered that, first of all, the microbiome becomes more healthy. But specifically, there are microbes that show up that help you to break down and process lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is what builds up in your muscle and causes muscle fatigue. So if you are an endurance, athlete, then having a microbiome that breaks down lactic acid is advantageous. Once again, the microbiome shows up. Flip side, if you are a lifter, they actually have done studies on people that train rugby and discovered that they have a more unique microbiome as well. And their microbiome is designed to produce more short-chain fatty acids. So you get more butyrate, and the butyrate actually feeds back into the muscle and helps with muscle recovery after a hard workout. So the point is, it's not just diversity of plants, it's diversity of cooking techniques, diversity of fermented foods, and now I'm adding diversity of exercises. I feel like I'm going back to P90X, where it was the muscle confusion thing. Different types of exercise cause different effects on the body. It's really cool.
So many different inputs. That's so fascinating. And what I'm gathering as you talk about the exercise piece is that basically what we are on a microbiome level is this unique fingerprint. You mentioned before how we're all unique. We're this unique fingerprint that's always changing when it comes to the microbiome based on everything that happens in our lives. You mentioned sleep, and now we know diet, exercise, basically everything we're doing. You mentioned earlier, if we go out near a tree, we're going to pick up certain microbiome and exchange our microbiome with that tree. So it's very complex. It's very integrated. And again, highlighting the point you made before, which is very comforting, that it shows that we're all so connected in this beautiful way.
100%. There's so many interesting studies that I have to back up what you were just talking about. Here's a couple quick ones. And then I want to get into one more quick topic that I think is really important that I want your listeners to hear. The quick hitting studies. First of all, they took a group of people and they literally stuck their hands in dirt for, I don't remember what it was, maybe it was 30 minutes a day. But that was the intervention. It was not gardening. They were not gardening. They put their hands in dirt. And these people had a change in their microbiome. Now, was it because they're getting relaxed? I don't know. But the bottom line is they just put their hands in dirt and they had a change in their microbiome after 2 weeks. Another study, they looked at the microbiome shared between partners. And they discovered, first of all, that you share more microbes with your partner than you do with your siblings. Even though you come from the same mom, most of the time grew up in the same household, had the same general diet as a kid or for the first 18 years of life, yet you share more microbes with your partner. So you are adapting together, but is it your food supply? They controlled for that. Is it because you're eating the same meals together? And they discovered, no, in fact, even when you control for that, there's still these similarities that continue to exist. Now, here's where it gets really cool. This is my favorite part. When they looked at people, the state of your relationship, are you happy or are you struggling? And the people who described their relationship as being in a really good place, they shared more microbes than the people who had a relationship that they would describe as being unhealthy. Now, of course, you hear that and you start to ask questions like, well, is this an exchange that takes place during, for example, sexual relations? Maybe. Actually, that's kind of interesting too. They've shown that when people kiss, why do we kiss? What is it that compels us to kiss? Because we do. We all do. I have a My daughter is 11 weeks old, and I'm kissing that sweet baby as much as I can. Why do I do that? Actually, we share microbes. So once again, it appears that when people kiss, there's actually this microbial exchange that takes place. And part of what we're doing, like for example, I may be sharing my microbes with my baby, trying to support her and help her as she has a developing, burgeoning microbiome. But between partners, it may be more along the lines of you're actually exploring whether or not you're a good microbial fit for one another. So anyway,
it's also fascinating, which brings me to one point I want to make sure we hit on before we part ways.
Please.
Since you've become so fascinated with the microbiome, has that changed how you go about bathing and sanitizing? Because again, coming back to there's microbes everywhere. There's microbes in your hair, on your face, on your skin. This is often not talked about as much as the microbiome, within our digestive system. But I'm curious, again, somebody who is up on the latest science in this realm, how do you go about thinking about your microbiome on the exterior?
I don't know that I'm right. So what you're getting here is just my opinion, because I don't have a research study to back this up. But I tend to favor a minimalist approach in the sense that I have become a lot more cautious about what I'm putting on my body or in my body or on the surface of the countertop in my home. And I'm leaning more towards natural or more natural approaches that include, like, for example, when we clean our house, you could use the chemical where it's like some sort of number and you don't know what it is. And it smells crazy and you can't breathe the air for a while. Or you could use vinegar. We use vinegar to clean our home. So that's just a quick example. Now, do I skip showers? Absolutely not. I love my showers. Do I use soap? Of course I use soap. But I have become more cautious about what is the soap that I'm using and trying to get things that are, look, at the end of the day, if it's less ingredients, if you recognize those ingredients, I don't know that it's right, but I at least feel more comfortable with that. That's the way that I feel about it.
Sounds a lot like me. If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
I call this the golden rule because no matter who you are, no matter what dietary pattern you follow, this is something that you can apply. And I think it's very tangible, very easy to follow, and can be potentially game-changing for a while.